Hey, how's it going? It's Dan from modular.dev here, and today we're going to continue on our series for developing websites for the absolute beginner. Today we're going to go over links. So how do you have multiple pages on your site and link between them? So if you haven't watched the other ones, I do encourage you to check those out. And as always, I encourage you to like and subscribe these videos so we can keep making more of them. I do want to point out that if you do pay attention to the Thursday live streams, we will be doing it on Wednesday this week, as I have something else I got to do on Thursday. So just take note of that time change if you are planning on attending that. Okay, I think that's about it. Let's go ahead and get started talking about links. So I put a link to the description to the MDN resource for the anchor element. The anchor element is the element that you're going to use for links. So it's the A tag here. So I put a link in the description for you to read more about it. But I'm going to cover kind of the more common use cases for it. We're not going to cover things like download and ping and rel. I do encourage you to read about those if you're interested, but we're not going to cover those today. So let's go ahead and get started. I've got a brand new blank HTML document here. I just called index.html. And let's go ahead and create a header for it so we have something. We'll call it the home page. And now we maybe want to have another page in our same website. So let's go ahead and create another one. Let's call this one the contact.html. So this would be our contact page. And just to make things easier, we're just going to copy everything from this one and paste it in this one and change this to contact page. Okay, so now we have two pages on our website. How do we link between them? How do we go between them? So the easiest way to do that is just to add a anchor tag, which is the A tag. And we need to put in an href. We're familiar with hrefs by now, probably. You've probably seen them when we talked about adding the style sheet to the header. We did link href, but in this case we're doing a href. And we want to put the link that we want to go to. So if we want to go to contact.html, we just put that in there. And then we close it, and then inside there is going to be the actual text that gets displayed for that link. So maybe contact page. Okay, let's go ahead and open up this file. I'll just hit run with debugging. Chrome preview. Okay, so we have the header, which says homepage, and then it says contact page. So if we click that, now we're at the contact page, which is great. And there you go, that's linking. But if we want to go further than that, I do want to point out that you can go to any website you want. You don't have to go to websites or web pages on your website. So if you wanted to go to modular.dev, which is my website, we can put that on there, and we run that in Chrome. Oh, we already got it running. Refresh, and there we go. We're on modular.dev website. So you can link to anything. But with that being said, a lot of times if you link to an external website, you want it to open up in a new tab. I know there's kind of a debate, if you really look at it, some people say, no, it should all be in one tab, but I tend to like it going on to a new tab. And if you wanted to do that, here's how you would do it. You would put target equals underscore blank. And you can read all about the target attribute on here. There's a couple other ones that you can use, parent and top being the other two. Self is the default one if you don't put anything. But blank is really the only one that I ever use, but I'm sure there's use cases for the other one. So now if we open this up again and we hit this, now we opened it up in a new tab. which is good because if they close out, now they're back at our website, which can be helpful. Especially, a lot of times you want to keep people on your website. So they go away, they close down, now they're back at your website, which is good. So target blank, that's how you do that. Another one that I did want to point out is the title attribute. And the title attribute is interesting because you can actually put a title attribute on anything. So I could put a title attribute on the home page, and then maybe I give it a title of something. I don't know. And now if I refresh the page and I hover over it, it has a little bit of a title there. It's got this something as a title. So you can do that on anything. But for links, it does tend to be a little bit more useful because they're going to be going to a different place. So, for example, you might want to say here, go to modular.dev, and in the description on the link you may be saying something else. So it's very useful to have a hover text. Now if the hover text is the same or very much nearly the same as the underlying text, don't put it on there. In fact, you will get flagged for accessibility reasons, because they should be different if you're going to have that. In fact, that's something that I was just dealing with today on one of my websites. So keep that in mind. So that's title and target. And one other thing, I know I wasn't going to talk about rel, but I will mention it very briefly. Rel is the relationship, or I think it stands for relationship. Let's see. Yeah, the relationship of the linked URL. And if you click this, you get to see all the different options that you have. The most common ones are going to be no opener, no referrer, and those are kind of security type deals. I'm dealing with JavaScript. No follow basically means that the document isn't endorsed by this one, which means a lot of times for search engines, you don't get any extra, what do you say, search engine, you don't get bonus points for having a link to you if that link has a no follow on it. So there's definitely some ones here. One that I'm going to point out is the external one, and I would recommend putting that on all of the links that go to an external web page. And frankly, I would also recommend putting no opener and no referrer as well. And you can read all about those and why they are recommended, but those two are for security reasons. This one here is mainly for like spiders and search engines to kind of know this is going to an external link. But yeah, usually whenever I put target blank, I'll put rel external, and depending on that link, I'll also put no opener and no referrer. So you probably don't need to necessarily know that, but definitely something to keep in mind if you're going to be coding some big websites that are linking to other external websites. Just maybe look at that before you go ahead and publish it. Okay, so we have our link. Now I wanted to touch on creating a header for the page and going like having a navigation menu basically. So a lot of times at the top of the body, you're going to want to put a header, right? You see that on almost every website you go to. They've got, links up here, which is your navigation. Same thing for pretty much every website that you go to. So how you do that is you make a header element, and then we're going to put a nav element inside that. So header basically just says this is at the header of my document. And it could be the header of a section as well, so don't feel like you have to use it just for the header of this, the navigation. It could also be used for, a subsection of something. You could have a header of it. But then nav stands for navigation, And now in there, you can put whatever links you want. I would also recommend putting it in like some kind of a list, but you haven't learned that yet, so I won't do that. But that's how I normally would do it. So let's go ahead and put a link in here to the contact page. So you put href contact.html, close it out, and put contact us. And let's go ahead and create a couple other links as well. So we'll have this first one be the home page. I know we're on the home page right now, but we want this to be consistent. So if they're on a different page, they're going to see the same navigation every time. Maybe this one will say about us, and we'll make an about.html, and then this third one says contact us. So that's that. Now let's go ahead and just look at this and see what it looks like. Obviously that doesn't look like anything impressive, but it works. So I can go to the contact page. Now you'll notice I went to the contact page and my menu is gone, or my navigation is gone, and that's because I didn't put it on the contact page. So it's kind of inconvenient, actually. You have to put this same this thing on all of your pages, which is not great. There are ways around that. You could use a server-side rendered framework like PHP or ASP.NET or Node.js or something like that to generate your pages for you, in which case a lot of times you're going to have a shared layout. But in this first tutorial, we're not doing that. We're just doing straight HTML. And for now, we have to copy this header on all of them, which means if we make a change, we're going to have to make a change on all of them. But that's fine for now. So let's make an about page as well. So about.html. And let's go ahead and grab all of this and paste it in there. Okay, and this can be the about page. And I'll get rid of this link on the home page just so we're cleaned up. Now if we refresh, we're going to see this same navigation on all pages. Now for some reason this is more zoomed in. Let me zoom in on all of them so it looks the same. Okay. Apparently in Chrome it zooms per page, which is kind of odd. So I'm going through and I'm able to navigate to any of my pages. So that's great. I would recommend having a navigation like that. And again, we're talking about using the header and the nav elements. Now a lot of times people are going to have navigation on the footer as well, so on the bottom of their website. Again, if I go back to MDN and I go down to their footer, I'm assuming they have, yeah, they've got different links down here. It may or may not be the same links as the ones on the top, but again, you're going to have the same type of thing, but instead of header, you're going to have footer. So you put a footer, navigation, and then your links. And again, I got to put this on all the pages. Oops, I got to change that to footer. You got to put that on all the pages so they're all consistent. And when we are getting towards the end of this tutorial, I will probably show you how to use a server-side language like ASP.NET, just so you can see how to create a shared layout, because this does get tedious rather quickly. And there we go. We have a footer and header navigation layouts. Okay. Oh yeah, I did want to point out one thing. You may have noticed though that the links changed colors. They started off blue, but then when we visited the page, they turned purple. So if I create another link on here, let's put, whoops, I'll put it up in the header. Testimonials. And again, we got to put that on all of our pages. And let's create a testimonials .html. Oops, looks like I put it in the footer instead of the header, which is fine. Doesn't really matter that much. Okay. Now if we refresh, look how the testimonials one is blue and the other ones are purple. And that is because if we, and if you look when I'm clicking it, it turns red. So where does all that stuff come from? That comes from the default styles that Google Chrome is putting on there. So if I look at this, my color is WebKit link, which ends up being like this purple thing here. Okay, but we also have the ability to add in some different states, and if you want, you can look at it here on this toggle element state. Just click like this hover thing, this HOV, and you'll see force element state, which we could put active, focus, hover, and visited. So for example, if I'm on this contact one, it is a visited link. That's why it's purple, whereas the testimonials one is not visited. However, I can force it to be visited by clicking it, this visited box here, and now you'll notice that it's purple, which I'm actually a little bit surprised that we're not seeing any change down here in the styles. But if we go to the computed tab, we'll see that it's purple, and it's not great because Chrome is the one kind of putting these colors on there. We're not doing it, but that's how you can kind of force different things. So if you look, if I click active, it's going to apply this active link. If I do focus, it's going to put this little outline around it, that type of stuff. So how do we actually style those things ourselves? Let's say we don't want to have different color links depending on if they visited or not, because that gets a little bit ugly, right? So let's go ahead and try that. Let's go ahead and add a styles.css. Remember, we're adding separate style sheets now. And if we put an A tag here, let's put a color of blue. Okay, and now on our index, well, on our home page, let's go ahead and add a link to that, equals style, rel equals style sheet. We learned this last time, so hopefully you remember it. So we have a link to the style CSS, and that style is going to make our link color blue. Let's go ahead and run it again. And now you'll notice all of our things are blue, and that's because we overrode the default style. So even though some of these have been visited, you know, the purple color that was there is not being shown. Same thing with if I'm clicking it, you can't tell, but I am clicking it. Let's go ahead and put an active state on that, just so you can see. Nothing I'm doing is changing the color. The only thing that I'm doing is the focus one, which puts a ring around it. And just so you know, the focus is if you tab to it. So if I'm tabbing between these links, it's gonna put a focus ring around it, basically. Okay, so the color is blue. Now, how about we did want a different style for, let's say, a hover link. What you can do is you can put a:hover, and maybe we want to make the color green, I guess. I don't know. It should change to green now when we hover over it. So let's go ahead and do that. Whoops. And there you can see that it is changing to green when I hover over it. And you have a whole bunch of different options. You have all of the ones that you saw on the previous screen. So you have active. Let's go ahead and put that to, I don't know, goldenrod. And for focus, let's go ahead and put that to black. So when I'm focused, it changes to black. When I'm hovering, it's going to put it green. When I'm in the middle of clicking, it changes it to goldenrod, but you probably couldn't tell that. Let's go ahead and put a little bit more obvious one. We'll put red. Well, let's see what's going on here. If I put active on that, it gets red. For some reason, oh, maybe focus. Maybe it's also being focused. That's probably what it is. Let's get rid of focus for now. Apparently clicking it makes it active and gives it focus, which makes sense if you think about it. So any of these different styles, hover, active, focus, and visited as well. That's another one. Let's go ahead and make that turquoise. So now if I go back here, all the visited ones are going to be turquoise. And that's about it. So hover, active, focus, visited. Those are the ways you can change a link depending on what the status or what the state of that link is. Oh yeah, I did want to also cover, we learned a little bit about IDs last time. So if I make, let's say, a section here and I put a bunch of text. Let me just go out and grab some text from loremipsum.io. And I'm just going to put a lot of text here. So much so that I have to scroll down. Okay, let's create another section. And I'm going to give this an ID of something. Let's just call it section 2. And I'll put a header inside here just so you can see that it's section 2. And I'll put a header inside here so you can see it's section 1. All right, if we open this back up, we've got section 1 and a bunch of text, and section 2 and a bunch of text. So what we might want to do is one of these links up here, or maybe a different link. You know what? Let's put some links here underneath the H1. Let's put a link for, we'll come back to filling in that href in just a second. But section 1 and section 2. All I did is put a couple links there. Maybe I'll put a space in between those so you can kind of see it. Okay, so what we want to have happen is if they click section 1, it scrolls down to section 1. If they click section 2, it scrolls down to section 2. But how do you do that? The first thing you need to do, as I've already done in this section, is put an ID on it. So we learned about IDs last time as far as CSS goes, but they also have some additional benefits for links. So now, this one's called section 1. I can put hashtag section 1 here and link to that section. And same thing here. I can put hashtag section 2 to go down to that section. So let me go ahead and show you what that looks like. Alright. See that? I click section 1 and it scrolls there. I click section 2 and it scrolls all the way there. So that's That's kind of useful. I know a lot of times I will use that, especially if it's a really small website where they don't have multiple pages. Maybe they put all their information on one page. You can still have a navigation, but then just have those links basically take you down the page. A good example for that is ridgerunfrenchies.com. This is one of the sites that I was helping somebody with. And you go ahead and click one of these. It'll take you down to that section of the website, whereas really you could scroll there, but these are nice little links to take you down. So I think that's about everything I wanted to cover. We learned about the A tag in general, how to use it, how to link to something, which is this href. We learned about the title attribute, which means that's what's going to be shown when they hover. Like a little bit of a helper text. We learned about the target attribute and setting it to _blank, and that will open it up in a different tab. And we also learned about styling it with the different states of a link, and we learned about the different ways you can have a header and a footer on your page. So I think that's probably enough for today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out in the comments, and we'll catch you next time.